Здравствуйте, товарищи. And I hope everyone had an awesome Christmas and an awesome New Year's, because I know I certainly had a pretty crazy holiday break. But I'm back now, and I thought I'd spend a little bit of time to share it with you guys. So when I actually came to Christmas, it was a good Christmas, right? Because now I've got three siblings, and now they're all adults, and they were all kind of off doing their own things. So we don't really get a lot of time, or at least I don't really get a lot of time to hang out with my family much anymore. So it was really cool, I guess, to have everybody back together again. When you're a kid, you spend your whole time, with your family, right? But when you're adult and you're moving on and you're going different places, it's refreshing, I guess. It's a nice nostalgic experience to have the whole family back together again. And in terms of actual like family good times and a good family experience, this was probably the best Christmas ever. More and more, the family's kind of getting more low key about gift giving and stuff like that. They all say that they're taking a break until Jasmine and I have a kid, and then that's when I guess Christmas ramps up again. But that won't be for a couple of years at least. But I did want to share probably the coolest thing I got from my parents with you guys, and I was very, I was surprised because I didn't know that they knew I was such a fan of ancient history and particularly Augustus. So my parents were on a trip to Greece for their 30th anniversary, and there apparently my mom met some kind of ancient coin collector or distributor or something like that. And she ended up getting me this right here. And let's see if I can get that to zoom in as oh, I had it. There we go. That's probably as good as it's going to get. So basically, this is a ancient Roman coin, minted between. What does it say here? It says minted between 34 and 37 A.D., shortly after the death of Augustus and during the reign of Tiberius. So on the front here, of course, you see Augustus's head. Whoops! Wow. Fortunately, it's been around for almost 2,000 years, so I think it'll survive a little drop like that. But so you see Augustus's head there, and then around the side it says the Divine Augustus in Latin, and then of course on the back is just the seal of the Senate of Rome. But it's just amazing. Like I've never owned such an old. This is probably the oldest man-made object I've ever owned, and it's amazing just to think about the journeys this coin must have gone through. From the time that it was minted to the time that it's in my hands right now. What it must have purchased, who must have held on to it, what it must have seen in his life. Its life is just amazing to think about. As well, I can't help but marvel at the detail for something that's 2,000 years old. Like you can just make out everything in terms of Augustus's face and his ears and his hair, and it's just an amazing piece of history. So it's pretty cool. Don't exactly know what I'm going to do with it. I'd like to find some way to display it. Would be nice, but I'm not sure. Maybe I'll take up ancient coin collecting, but that's an expensive hobby that I just don't have the money to do right now. But it's cool nonetheless. But most of my holiday break was spent partying, both with my family and my friends, and it was a good time. That's for sure. I had one of the most surreal experiences at one of my friends' parties. So we go there. My wife and I go there. We're both friends with this guy, and he's a very talented musician, and he has all these different crazy musical instruments in his house. So my wife and I are there, along with a couple other friends and him, and we're just trying out all these. We're getting wrecked, and then trying out all these weird instruments that he has. Like he has this one, and it's like I think it's some sort of Indian or otherwise sort of maybe Southeast Asian instrument, and it's like this board, and then across it are stretched a bunch of strings, and it's about a foot and a half tall, and then 2 feet wide, and it's covered with these strings, and you get these little sticks, and you kind of like play it, and it's kind of like this some kind of fusion of guitar and drums or something like that. So we're just trying out all these crazy instruments and just kind of jamming on them. And of course, like I said, he's a talented musician, so he's providing some sort of direction. And I actually had like this just crazy experience where I mentioned, I'm like, you know what? I've always wanted to try and play didgeridoo. I've never played a didgeridoo before. And he looks at me. He's like, I have a didgeridoo. In fact, I have two didgeridoos. And I'm like, who the hell has didgeridoos just lying around? Who? It was just amazing. He's like, here, do you want to try and play it? So I tried to play the didgeridoo for the first time in my life, and I couldn't succeed at it. I just couldn't make it do anything besides make weird farting noises. But I wish I would have been able to actually make that distinctive. I'm probably doing the worst impression of the didgeridoo ever, but I wish I could make that iconic sound. It certainly would have been cool. As well, though, this guy he's got his keyboard hooked up to all these mixers and his speakers. I'm not a musician by any stretch of the imagination, so I don't know all the technical terms for all these things. But he's got this keyboard, and it's got I think it was like 200 different settings, 200 different options, and he's programmed and sequenced every single one. So you hit a key, and it just plays like a sequence of notes. It just doesn't play one note. So we're playing, what was it? I think it was Cards Against Humanity. And I'm sitting there at this keyboard. I'm just kind of like touching random keys, and it's just making this amazing sounding music. And I'm like, wow, this guy's really made this keyboard idiot proof, because just anyone who's completely unexperienced in musical instruments can come in here and just start playing keys and making this amazing sounding music. It's like I couldn't lose. And that was a pretty cool experience. But the whole time, you just come out of there and you just can't help but feel awesome coming out of like a jam session like this. You just can't help coming out but feeling like you're on top of the world. And I firmly do believe in like the therapeutic powers of music. And I just feel like anyone could have gone to that session, no matter how depressed or whatever they were, and have come out feeling like $1,000,000. So that was a pretty awesome experience. The day after, I went with my wife and my family. We all saw the new Star Wars movie, and it was crazy because at least all the prequels we all saw together as a family. I obviously didn't see the trilogy in theaters because I wasn't old enough for to be able to have seen it in theaters. But we'd all seen all the trilogies together as a family, so it was cool to get to see a new Star Wars movie as a family. The only thing is, though, I really didn't like it. Like, I thought it was terrible. Um, and I kind of expressed this on my Facebook page, and a lot of people asked me to kind of elaborate on my thoughts. And I will do that in a separate video log. I don't want to, spoil things here for anyone who hasn't seen the movie. But it just felt like such a soulless cash grab, and I just felt like left feeling empty. I guess I know I probably had set my expectations too high because I had seen a lot of good reviews. So I went in there expecting, great movie, and maybe I'd set the bar too high, only to be utterly devastated when I actually went and saw it. But man, it was disappointing in that sense. But the person who disliked it the most was actually my dad. And my dad's like, you know what? I went and I saw the original Star Wars in theaters when I was 17, and I was blown away. I'd never seen anything like it. I never had experience like it, and I really haven't had a movie experience like it since. But going here and watching this movie, it's like it sucked out all the joy of the franchise for me. So anyway, it was still good though to be able to do that, to have that experience again with my family. I also spent a crap ton of time playing Settlers of Catan with my family because my aunt went out and she bought the board game for our family, and that was a huge risk because my family is not like the biggest board game family, and Settlers of Catan is a pretty complicated board game, right? It's not like a simple game that you can just sit down and play and pick it up really easily. You gotta invest a little bit of time, and I personally love Settlers of Catan, and it's been so long since I had the opportunity to play it. I played it a lot in university, especially when I was in the dormitories, because all these people around me were like board game nerds, and we'd spend all hours or stay up all hours of the night playing Settlers of Catan and other games. So I didn't know how my family would enjoy it, but it turned out they all loved it. I thought my dad actually would succeed at the game the most because to me, Settlers of Catan, it really amplifies, I think, two skills to be successful at it, and that is resource management and deal making. And my dad's a very successful businessman, and in order to succeed in his realm, he needs to be very skilled at resource management and deal making. So I thought he'd do very well. Unfortunately, not so much. It just seemed like he didn't have any kind of overarching strategy. Like it was all just kind of randomly coming to him. But it was a good time, that's for sure. And then I went out and then I bought them the expansion pack, the Seafarers expansion pack, which is, I think, well, the game isn't totally complete, at least without that expansion, I feel. So it was a ton of fun. But I guess the last highlight of the vacation was New Year's Eve. So, oh my God, what a crazy night New Year's Eve was. So, I spent it with one of my closest friends. He lives in the area where I was, but he's originally from Los Angeles, and his whole family's originally from Los Angeles, and my wife is too. So I was in Canada, and I was spending all my New Year's with all these Americans, and specifically Los Angelians. I should probably know the correct term for this, but I was just, spending it with all these people from LA, and I was outnumbered in my own country. But anyway, so I spent it with him, and we went to first off, we went to a German restaurant called we went to this German restaurant, and I had this beef, this slow cooked beef rib, and it was just awesome. And then after that, we all went to my friend's neighbor who was having a house party, and this guy, he's like some kind of weird Renaissance man. Like he owns his own company. He's got all these hobbies. He does craft brewing in his spare time, and he does DJing in his spare time. So we all went over there, and he started like sharing his craft brews with us, and I was really surprised. Like they were really good beers. Like I feel like he could probably, if he was able to mass produce it, easily sell them in a liquor store or something like that. Because I definitely had a lot. I've definitely paid a lot more for a lot worse beer. I can say that much without any reservations. But we're all at this New Year's party. We're all having a good time. I'm with my wife and friends and a bunch of strangers. And at one point, there's this my friend's brother and this other girl from LA. They kind of went away, and they were in this corner, and they're having this like intense conversation. Like I think they were trying. Someone was trying to achieve something that night, and this guy had this arcade machine in his room, and this arcade machine was like some kind of advanced arcade machine where it had 10,000 arcade games from just about every era, and I really wanted to play the original Super Mario Brothers with my wife. So but they're over near this arcade machine, so we had to kind of muscle in on their territory, and I felt bad, like I was overhearing their very intense conversation. But so we're playing this arcade game, and after we're done, this British guy comes up to me who I hadn't met throughout the party, and he introduces himself to me, and we start talking, and we eventually delve into the realm of politics because that's just the kind of guy I am. I don't really like small talk very much, so if I'm at a party, I'm always going to go for the jugular, I guess, and really open up deep conversations about current events or politics or philosophy or something like that. And some people like it, and some people don't. If they don't, they generally tend to ignore me. Excuse me. So anyway, this guy was down, so we were having this conversation, and the more I learned about him, I learned that he was like this crazy like Alex Jones type, New World Order, Illuminati, 9/11 was an inside job type of guy, and I was like strangely fascinated by this because I never met anyone who held this particular, worldview face to face. Like I've seen, comments on the internet and, all that kind of stuff, but I never actually met a flesh and blood human face to face who believed this stuff, who had this worldview, and I felt like I was some kind of like professor or researcher or something who had just discovered, a unicorn, and I was interested in how the what the unicorn thought and how he conducted himself, and I didn't want to scare him away by saying, you know what, buddy, you're a complete and total whack job. And you also take into the fact that I'm at someone else's house who was amazingly hospitable to my wife and I didn't want to start a fight and ruin the evening. So I'm just kind of sitting there and listening to him, and I wanted to hear his own arguments from himself, uncensored, just him being him, telling me what he believes, because like I said, I was interested in learning more about this unicorn. So I adopted, I guess, I don't know how many people have ever read any of sort of the Greek warrior philosopher's work, Xenophon's. And Xenophon, he has this philosophy or this idea where he believes that it's unjust or immoral to state the bad things. You should only state the good things. So when you read his work, he'll go to a city and he'll talk about the city, and he'll say it's large, prosperous, and well off. Well run. And then he'll go to the next city and say that it's large, but he'll neglect to mention the fact that it's poor and inefficiently run. And then he'll go to the next city and, or whatever, and he'll just state the good things and he'll leave out the bad. So that was kind of my, my conversational style with this guy, is where I just kind of not stating the bad things, just kind of stating vague statements. And he just kept going and going and going, and it was a very interesting experience, like I said. But he definitely did not convert me with his arguments, that's for sure. But I just will have to again chalk it up to a life experience, like playing the didgeridoo is the first time I met a New World Order, Alex Jones, Illuminati type in the flesh and blood. All in all, though, I had a great time. Jasmine had a great time too, I think, but to a lesser extent, because she thought that there was a lot of sexual energy, I guess, in this whole party, and some of it was misappropriately directed at her, and it made her feel uncomfortable. I didn't really get any of that, but then again, I'm not a girl. Maybe it's a girl thing to kind of notice stuff like that. I just kind of was going around talking to people, drinking, having a good time, and that's the kind of way, like I said, I like to conduct myself at a party. Like I said on Facebook, I like to be like Socrates in the Symposium, where there's this great story about Socrates, and he's going around, he's had this drinking party, and he's talking to everybody, and he's getting into these great conversations, and the drinking party goes all night. And by the end of the night, Socrates is the last one standing, and he's still trying to talk to people about philosophy. Unfortunately, I wasn't the last one standing that night. I couldn't go past, I think it was 4 a.m. And then, once 4 hits and there's still people out there and they're still partying and having a good time, and I'm just I'm exhausted. It's over. It's done. It's time to go to sleep. But the only thing that was, I guess, sucked about the party was the complete lack of water. I believe that staying hydrated is key to keeping a good time going. And when there's no water at the party, it can be pretty brutal sometimes. But enough about that. Then New Year's Day came. Definitely wasn't feeling so hot. So I went home and relaxed, and then came back to Edmonton. The drive was brutal. It's a 10-hour drive from Edmonton to the Okanagan, and there was accidents on the road, horrific accidents, and traffic was being blocked up. So it took closer to 12 or 13 hours. We did it all in one day, and that's never a fun drive to do. But we made it back safe and sound. I came home, and then I worked on the podcast and got the last episode out, because I had to condense my work schedule a little bit, because I wasn't able to record and edit, obviously, at my parents' house, because I didn't have the equipment. So I had to work, pull a couple 10, 12-hour days to get that done. But I'm happy it's out there, so I get a little bit of time to relax, play some video games, do some Let's Plays, that sort of stuff. Which, by the way, going good news. The channel has officially been organized. All my Let's Plays are now officially organized into playlists. So that's a huge, huge relief to get that done. And now I vow to never let anything get that far behind again. So, so if you've been interested to watch some of those older videos, but, for whatever reason you couldn't find them, now hopefully they'll be much more easily accessible. And that's all she wrote for my crazy holiday vacation. So I want to thank you guys for watching. This has been the Stalinator, signing off for now, and until next time, you guys take care.